Welcome to the Huddle and Whistle show where sports meets culture and the conversation always goes deeper. We are former athletes, coaches, parents, and insiders bringing you high IQ sports talk you can't get anywhere else. Follow us on social media and subscribe on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform so you never miss a beat. Let's huddle up and blow the whistle. All right, welcome to another episode of Huddle and Whistle. We are back for episode number 4. And today we are talking about our parents living their sports dreams through their kids. Did you hear me? Our parents living their sports dreams through their kids. So that is today's discussion. We've been having some really great episodes. So I'm actually looking forward to this one right here. And I will tell you why. My answer is going to be yes, we sport parents are living through our kids. What do you think, Terry?
I don't know. For me, I got two sets of kids. I got an older group that's 30 and 32, and I have a younger one that's 18. And so that gap really just allowed for me to make the separation. But as a coach and as a referee, I definitely see this vicarious living. And how do you know if you're vicarious? When you use the terms we won, we the champs versus y'all weak, y'all sorry. If you are that parent, you are living vicariously. If you are creeping down the sideline during the game, you are living vicariously. If you sit in front of your team's home goal in basketball, so when they score on there, and then at halftime you switch to the other side, so you can be on that end where they score the basket. If you doing that, then you living vicariously, and I see it all as a ref and as a coach. I see it. So yeah, it's happening.
Okay, so did your kids play sports?
Yes. So my
Okay,
older,
wait,
my daughter,
wait. Did you say we when they were playing?
I don't know. I don't recall.
Okay. Figures.
I don't recall. So
Well, that's sure is an attorney answer, isn't it, Jim?
Oh, that's a big time attorney answer.
that's just the honest answer. You know.
Well, sometimes I think the parents don't know that they're doing that, because I mean, everybody wants their kids to be good at sports. I mean, it's a healthy brag for, I guess it can be a healthy brag, but a lot of times I think it's saying that I'm a better parent as well. Like I look at my kid, he out there hooping, or he out there scoring these touchdowns, or she is out there smoking these kids in track or playing great volleyball. So I'm the better parent because my kid is the star player or the star athlete. So I think in a way that's part of the living through it. It gives them something to hold over other parents, and um, gives them this feeling of a hierarchy. Because like in the parent groups with especially youth sports, there seems to be a hierarchy. The kid with that's the best. Their parents seems to be the one talking a lot, during practices, and talking a lot during the game and things like that. So I think it can be a bad thing and a good thing. Like you said, the we parents, like they're French, like hey, we. They are the ones that just kind of can ruin things because they want their kid to just star over everything else, whether it's over the team success or anything else. And sometimes they cross those boundaries with the coaches and with other parents. So it can be a good thing, it can be a bad thing, but yes, we most definitely live through our kids. We want our kids to be the best. Should our parents probably live through us? If you ask them, they'll probably be like, no, it was all about you. But yeah, okay, we know how it is.
Not mine. My dad was a tennis pro, so unless you call having your 6-year-old on the tennis court at 5 a.m. on a Saturday morning, hitting backhand and front hand swings on a backboard, living vicariously, it definitely wasn't my dad. And my mother worked too much to even be able to come to most of my games. So I think for me, that's part of the reason that I am, I won't say overly supportive. I don't think you can ever support your kids too much, but
Hmm.
I think that plays a very large role in why I don't miss games, why I try to show up, why I'm always, even during practices, sometimes I'm just sitting in the car waiting. Um, half of it's I don't want to drive all the way home. The other half is, I'm there when she gets out or whatnot. But I definitely, and I challenge anybody that's ever coached my child to say that I've ever crossed a boundary. I usually stay to myself. The hardest person that I am on is my daughter. And it's usually because, she wants to do something, she really wants it, and then I don't see the effort. Now, that's how you make this mom angry, right? Don't tell me that you really want to do something and then I stop, and I'm spending my time and my money and my energy and my effort and not doing things for me because you said you wanted this and then you're not putting forth the effort. That's a great way to make me angry.
So I have a question though. Now that you've become this super producer, cinematographer, and your daughter has her own podcast and you're filming on the sideline, does that camera does that camera pose some level of intimidation for the coaches?
Um, I would hope not, because we're in an age of content and social media. So they have their people they're filming as well. So I
Oh, okay.
highly doubt that, they're even paying attention to me, because usually my content is mostly based on what she's doing and not what, anybody else on the team is or whatnot. Because I'm trying to help her build, her profile for her goals in the future.
So is there hard coaching that goes on in volleyball? Because like I'm on the football sideline and there's some hard conversations, some hard coaching that's going on. Is that allowed at all? Because I know like even basketball, you can't really talk to players because the fans in the stands are right there. They're 3 feet away. So the conversations are different on that football sideline in a lot of places.
Oh, this is a good one. So let me first of all shout out to Coach Jade and some of the other coaches, but I like strict coaching. I wouldn't say hard, especially when you've got a group of young ladies, but I think that parents of athletes need to be realistic. And if you want your child to improve, you need to allow the coach the, ability to be honest with them. Right. I mean, I've seen parents get upset because they were told, or their kid was told, that they needed to get in the gym. Hey, you don't want to get bumped around and pushed around, get a little bit of muscle, go to the weight room, put some, extra work in or whatnot. And some parents are really, sensitive about those type of things. Now, again, the flip side is, I don't know, maybe the kid has, I am about to hurt this little girl behind me. Maybe because, maybe because, see what I'm saying? Just be wanting
She
to,
told her not to bother you. She handling things on her
man,
own.
let me tell you what it is, right? We were talking about gaming.
Y'all don't have hard
I know
coaches.
it's
It's just
Roblox.
I don't
Hold on.
believe it.
Let me hear before I get angry. See, this is Roblox. That's all she wants. And then she's going to leave me alone and go away. Here, I don't want to play right now. So, anyway, I believe hard coaching is very necessary, and unfortunately, some kids just can't tolerate it. I think a lot of that has to do with coddling. I don't coddle my kids. You just saw the 5-year-old. She's used to it. Somebody might say, "Oh my God, you're yelling at her." She knows the difference when I am like yelling and when I am just being like seriously firm with her. I think that that's part of coaching, and hopefully parents allow that to take place if they want their child to improve.
Um, I don't know about the hard coaching thing because I'm not. I very seldom is yelling at my players or my athletes when I'm coaching them up. I know a lot of people be like, "Oh, you don't have that passion." It's just like I never wanted anybody to just yell at me when I was an athlete. I just want you to just come tell me what I need to do right. I'm going to listen to you. I want that, but sometimes that message gets lost in the yelling because not every athlete can handle it. Like you said, not every athlete can handle hard coaching, but they can handle good coaching. And I always explain to them before we even start the season, hey, I'm very seldom going to be yelling at you. I'm very seldom going to be berating you, but I'm going to be giving you coaching points. You need to listen to those coaching points. If you need to be yelled at, for you to get the coaching point right, I'm just gonna pull you out because I know for me it's hard to wind back down once I'm up there going, especially when it comes to sports. It's hard to come back down. So I'm probably be bringing that into the house with my family over a game that happened an hour or two ago. So I do my best to always keep myself down, even, and then I always let the parents know, like, hey, I'm not going to be out here embarrassing your kid because
Right.
I need your kid to be tuned in and locked in. So I can't have you doing the same thing out of the stands, like, hey, you suck. You should have dropped that ball.
Right.
I need them tuned in the game. And like I tell them, make a mistake, move past that mistake. Everybody makes mistakes. And I always go, the pros make mistakes. That's how people score all the time because somebody made a mistake. If everybody was just perfect, every score would be 0-0 in all pro sports. But
Right.
everybody's going to make a mistake. So I need you to lock in. And then when I feel that you're not listening, that's why we coach other people up. I'll pull you out, put somebody else in, and then have that conversation with you until I see that you're ready to go back in or ready to go. You got that coaching point, then go back in. But I mean, it's a thin line between the hard coaching and sometimes abusive coaching. I work with a coach. I won't say his name. When I say he was just the most abusive coach, and he
Mm.
thought that was just coaching, like he would just say things. It would sometimes get to the point where he have his fist balled up and he's in a kid's face. Like,
Mm.
dude, like that's like, why are your fist balled up? You're supposed to give them a coaching point,
Right.
like
Right.
that's like that's too much. Like, and that and the kid sees that. And some of these
Yeah.
kids are bigger than you. You mess around and ball your fist up on the wrong kid. Now we got a whole issue with you, that kid, and their parents out here on this field. So you got to get that together. So it's a thin line between the harshness of it and then or being firm. Let me say that, being firm, and then just going over the top with the yelling and screaming. Because sometimes, I mean, I know in the pros they lose their locker rooms or they lose the bench because of yelling and screaming too much. Them dudes just tune them out, and then now
Yeah.
you're out of job because instead of just coaching, you're going too far.
Well, let me, in all fairness, I guess we should have probably clarified what hard coaching meant from Terry, because I don't yell at the players. I don't mean hard coaching as in yelling. I mean hard coaching as in being firm, like being able to tell a
Mhm.
kid, like, hey, you got to make those.
Yeah.
Not, it's okay. Let's just have fun. I cannot stand coaches that believe that youth sports is only about having fun. Like, to me, you should want to win as well. I'm not saying beat the team up if you lose, but what part of competitive sports is only about having fun? That's the part I think when I say hard coaching, it's like we want to learn, we want to train, we want to win, right?
Hmm.
That's what I mean when I say hard coaching.
Yeah, because it's the development component as well. I know
Right.
I know like my son, he was just recently playing at Ball and Hills, and they were playing another team. You can just tell that those guys on that team, they were just physically just better kids. You didn't see that there wasn't much technique to what they were doing. They were bigger, faster, stronger.
Yeah.
So are you developing the kids, or are you just trying to get victories? Oh, I'm gonna put this offense in, and we're gonna do this because I just know we're better. And then the level of recruiting at that age level as well is just insane.
Mm.
So you'll have one team that they look like little kids. The other team look like a bunch of teenagers out there playing against kids because they didn't went out and recruited the biggest kids and the fastest kids they can find. And it can be bad because they're probably not teaching much technique. Those kids are just so much more physically dominating. And you see that a lot especially when I'm in high school as a high school coach. You see a kid, oh, he was all world at let's just say with the Watts Rams. He was all world there, but then he gets to high school. You're reteaching, or not even probably reteaching. You're teaching them these fundamentals now, and now they're not at this physical advantage. So now you're just like, okay, I got to get this kid squared away. So you're
Yeah.
taking more time out to teach this kid something because not that they were coddled, they were just put in a situation where they were just so much physically dominant that that coach just was like, he gonna be this man, but you're not teaching them how to develop and become a man at the next level. And
Right.
that's a lot of problems that you run into. And I'm not saying that they're not having the hard conversations. They don't know how to have those hard conversations with those kids.
Yeah. Um, I can tell you from experience though, Marley, when she first started playing sports, now granted, this is elementary school, but I was one of the assistants for the basketball team, and the head coach was a guy who'd been there a long time. And you could tell that, maybe he used to play. And I only say that because he was extremely tall. But he really had this mentality of, oh, it's just everybody let's just have fun. Let's just have fun. And I'm like, in practices, I need to see layup lines. I need to have people, practicing free throws. And he was just, it was almost like free play scrimmage. And we just were on two completely different pages. Needless to say, the team wasn't very good and we did not win many games. But I think those fundamentals are really important in coaching.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Y'all sound like fairyland, and
And you're
y'all are really nice and gentle coaches and nice tones. Because I used to yell and curse and scream when I started coaching, right?
Mhm.
So probably for like my first, probably like 10 years. But then for the remaining 15 years, I really tried to reserve it for those moments when I needed to push a button, because certain players, you have to unlock them to get the most out of them, and some players, like a quarterback, and I primarily coach quarterbacks for the last 10 years, you can't curse and yell and scream at them
Mhm.
because they have to be able to come to the line of scrimmage, make a decision in less than 3 seconds, and you cannot have their confidence shaken. You cannot have them disturbed. They're extremely temperamental, but nobody can do what they can do. So that conversation is different than somebody that's in the trenches that's actually fighting somebody every play. Like it's a different mentality, whether you're O lineman, D lineman, where you are physically like, I'm going to whoop you every play and I'm not going to take a play off. That's a total different mentality. And so I think, coaches should have some understanding as to who their players are. And as I think back about it, the best coaches that I've been around and experienced, they really didn't curse a lot either. They didn't yell or scream or curse a lot. They carried a certain level of cachet with them the players just kind of wanted to impress them or they respected them. And so they were able to just talk to these players and get the most out of them. But I do think that there is a balance, and you got to be able to unlock your player. Just, you don't know where he comes from and what moves him. But some players move differently based upon how you talk to them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
so we're talking about the coaching now. I'm talking about, like, let's get back to these parents here.
Mhm.
You know,
Um,
parents yelling on the sideline and coaching from the sideline. That was an issue recently in one of Marley's teams because it was a perception, I think, more than anything. There was a parent who was a coach, and I believe the coach thought that, this particular parent was like kind of sideline coaching.
mhm.
And I think it was more of the parents' inability to just kind of keep the comments to themselves, but definitely not coaching, but probably just maybe annoying the coach or, maybe even some of the players or other parents. I don't know. Again, it didn't bother me, but I also understand that I'm a different type of parent. I'm a different type of coach, and I made the mistake a long time ago of feeling like people should think and react to things the way that I would.
Yeah. Um, just as a parent on the side, I do my best not to say much because, like you said, sometimes that could bother a coach, especially once the coach knows my playing credentials or know my coaching credentials. That can, I don't know if it rubs them the wrong way, but I always be like, okay, so they know this, so let me not say much. If I talk to the coach, I always talk about how can I improve my kid. Like, oh, so what can I do that allow him to be better, to be in better service of the team. So
Right.
what can I do? What can I work with them with? But I've also, as a coach, and I'm one of the few coaches I know that do this. I allow the parents to have to be able to approach me whenever because it's your kid. I want your kid to know that you love them and care about them. So when they see you at the practice and you're coming to have a conversation about me, I want that to be seen. I know, so there are some coaches like, oh, you need to talk to this person. These are these things like this. And I always tell it, like, it's your kid. please come address me about something that you think is going on with your kid. That's why I got all these assistants for. They can run this practice. Me and you can go off and have a conversation. But I want your kid to know that you care about them. Now, when you're getting ridiculous about about this stuff, then we're going to have a conversation with an administrator. Like now, we got to get an administrator up in here and we got to talk because some parents are just like they, that they just wanted their kid to shine,
Yeah.
and that's not what we're trying to get at because they feel a certain way. I had a player, um, when I was at Gardena. His father was so overbearing to him that he quit. He just quit. We hadn't even got to the season yet. He was like, "Hey, coach, I'm not playing this year." And I'm just like, "Oh, come on, dude! Like, what's going on?" And he would never say nothing. And then finally one day he was just like, "My dad puts way too much pressure on me." He was like,
Wow.
I just can't. He's like, every day, that's all we talk about is football, 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 football. And I don't want to do that. I just kind of want to be a regular person. And I was just like, okay, so this is what we can do. You don't have to play, but you can come be around a team. You can be like a team manager or something like that. Now, after about a week, he was like, I want to play. But then we have to find a way how we're going to facilitate him and his dad.
Right.
How to keep him away from his dad. And there's a good thing about high school. You're at school all day right before the game. So he didn't have to hear from his dad. So we used to try to keep him in the locker room so his dad wouldn't get in his head and get him all out of sorts. And he was a really, really good player for us too. So
Yeah.
it's just sometimes like the parent puts so much pressure on the kid that they can't enjoy themselves. And to me, if you can't enjoy yourself, you can't have fun. I know you want to win, you want to be competitive, but part of that fun is the battle to win a game. That's the fun part of it. That being in them trenches, going through the trials and tribulations on the field. But when you constantly come to the sideline, you suck. You can't let that. You can't miss that block, or you gotta make that man miss. That can drive them because it's already they're getting coaching points. And I'm one of those people. I surround myself with coaches that do yell, fuss, and cuss. I might not be the fusser and the cusser, but I got coaches like that. But if you're getting that from the coach and you're getting that from your parent, at what point are you getting your mind right and getting your mind together to go back out there and make some corrections, or just do a better job or give better effort? You're too busy getting beat down. Now,
Right.
now you can't go through it. So it's a very fine line between your parent wanting it for you and wanted it for us, for you gonna buy me this house, you gonna get me this car.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
ain't gonna work no more. Mama ain't gonna work no more. And they don't understand that's pressure when you're putting that in the kid's head. And I'm glad that my dad never did that. He never said that you're gonna buy me a house when you make it. It was more so, son, this is what you gotta do, this is what you gotta do, this you gotta do. Now, was he still living through me? Yes. But he had a different way of saying like he was making it more about me than about us. Because I know he knew if shoot, I signed $100 million contract, he was gonna get two houses. So he kind of knew that already. So you just got to be with the parents. The you got to just understand who your kid is, one, and how you're going to motivate your kid to be out there.
Have you ever had to have a conversation with a parent? And before you answer that, I'm just going to tell you, I had to watch a couple of kids play. Um, Never kids that played on my kids' team, but
Mhm.
I used to feel so sorry for this one young man that was playing basketball, and his dad was like, he would stand up, he would get mad, he'd storm onto the court, not on like the floor, but just like, sideline,
Mhm.
man, play your game, and just like really talking like mess and yelling. I know the kid was probably embarrassed. I just used to feel really bad for him. And I know that there was a point when I used to get frustrated with Marley sometimes.
Mhm.
And after seeing this dad, I, that made me stop. I was like, oh Lord, did I used to look like that? I don't think so. But mentally, I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna zip it. Like, I have nothing else to say. Just play. We'll talk about it in the car. Because I was embarrassed for the kid.
Mhm. I had a parent when I was coaching at Hollywood High. He would do that. Usually, it's. I just ignored it. I ignored it, and then when we played bad. We turned the ball over 8 times and we lost the game. And I wasn't. You're frustrated that we don't turn the ball over like that. We never do that. But to turn the ball over 8 times, of course you're going to lose the game. And that parent came out on the field after the game while I was giving my speech and was like, "The reason why y'all lost is because of y'all coach." He's like just went off. Administrators tried to get him. He was like, no, we should have never hired him. And it's like, going crazy. So, I didn't address it then. So Monday he showed up to practice. We had practice on a Monday. We showed up. And I was waiting for him. I was like, hey, come here, man. Like, what's going on? Like, why are you like you seen that we were executing plays. If I have a kid running down the sideline, there's nobody next to him, and he just drops the ball out his hand. That's not a coaching. That's not coaching. The kid just lost the ball. Like he wasn't touched. Ball just fell out. They recovered. Like you think that kid don't feel bad, but then you come after the game and you doing all of this. We didn't use gaslighting in those days when I was coaching in Hollywood, but he was just gaslighting and doing all that. So he brought up a couple of instances during the of things that happened during the season. So he was like, one time it was 4th and 1, and you didn't have your best running back in the game. Why you didn't have your best running back in the game? I said, well, the kid was cramping super bad, like super, super bad. What if I give him the ball and he goes and he tries to make a cut? He cramps. He's cramping so bad he pulls something. He tears something. I was like, yeah, we want to win, but I don't want this kid out here getting hurt. He was cramping bad. And if my second string running back can't get 1 yard, like then what are we doing out here? So it's just like these parents, they act as if they are in your huddle, that they think because they're at practice, they're part of the game plan, and they're seeing things that go on, not understand there's adjustments that need to be made. There are things just happen in the course of a game. So I had to have a whole conversation with him. I had another parent sit in, so it wouldn't be like this thing where we are going back and forth. So by the time we got to the end of the conversation, he was like, well, I think we should be a better team. We should be undefeated. And I was like, I get that. I understand that. Nobody's coaching to lose, but we've played some teams that were just better than us. We gave a good fight. So yeah, in our strategy, we still have limitations with our players. Yeah, it'd be great if we can throw a bunch of bombs all game long and do that, but we don't have no fast receivers. We're kind of a slow team. So, he's just trying to explain these things to parents sometimes, yeah, because they had a little bit of playing time, or, they watch football every Sunday and every Saturday. They think they just got this great insight. They think they got this great insight, but like I tell them, like, and I have to explain to this parent, like, there's a strategy that goes to this. Like, before I was a coach, your son never played. I developed your son to be a starting linebacker. Your son developed to be the starting fullback, where he was getting a lot of those short yards when we needed them and doing things like that. But sometimes in the course of the game, the strategy has to deviate. So the conversation went well, but when they're doing that after a game or during a game, and they're doing those type of things, it's like it can be unsettling. And if you're not really secure as a coach with that, and if the kid, sometimes the kids are super embarrassed, like, oh, just ignore my dad, or oh no, ignore my mom. She always run her mouth. Those type of things become pretty bad. And so yeah, sometimes you got to sit those parents down and be like, hey man, you're killing your kid. Yeah. And you're also killing our team too with your commentary. So those conversations are hard to have, because sometimes those parents take it bad.
I'm sure.
Really, really bad, that you have to address them. So you just got to be careful sometimes with that.
Yeah,
it's like,
hey, no, you can see the dynamic when the parents drive up, and they walk off the field, right? You can just see the dynamic. And what I learned from a couple of coaches, one was Coach Alonzo Carter, and he's now like the assistant head coach at the University of Arizona for football, right? And Coach Peters at McClymonds High School, he might be one of the all-time winningest coaches in Northern California, right? Mm-hmm. And so it was always this dynamic with the parents, right? And what we found to be most effective was that you really just had to preach resilience to the kid. So every week, about 2 to 3 times, they would take this opportunity to speak to the group, and it was always some form of wellness, emotional intelligence, as how you as a player, you have to learn how to block out things. You got to block out your parents, you got to block out your teammates, you got to block out the referees, all these different things, because this is just a part of it. You're not going to change the passion that a parent has. I mean, they went to the college, they went to the high school, they played for the organization, right? So they feel that they know the history of the organization better than the kid. Like, I was a Cougar before you, right? And so now the kid has to start developing this mentality of how to deal with those moments, and this is the first time somebody is probably telling them to their face, like, your parent is wrong. Like, your parent is wrong and your parent won't be allowed to come. And so, over time, the kids start understanding, who they are, and they start, developing this attitude where they're starting to really question their parents. And it goes back to, just in my private practice that I do a lot of family law. There's a lot of studies that have been done that shows that like 75% of high school students think that their parents are stupid.
Ooh,
Mm.
They just think you're
that's
stupid.
a
You
heck
don't
of a number.
understand. You don't know what you're talking
That's a
about.
big number.
You pass your time. What you're saying don't make sense. You don't represent what a parent should be. You should be better as a parent. They have all these checklists for you as a parent, and they really just don't think you know what you're talking about. So
Yeah,
as a coach, if you tell them, hey man, your parent is tripping, they go, you know what? You
you're right.
probably right. Because
Mhm.
they be tripping over here too. And so you have to start, really having honest conversations with these kids, and they start developing this resilience, and they come through, they figure it out, but it's the real conversation where the kid now has to be able to manage that emotion,
Yep.
because we've had some tough conversations, and it's really like clearly like the kid feels like they're carrying this emotional burden, or they're responsible for their parents' happiness.
Yeah.
And how you hear it is when the kid is like, well, clearly you upset with me. Clearly you upset with the team. Clearly you upset with the coach. Clearly you upset with the ref, right? Clearly I'm wasting your time and money. You make it very clear to me you could be doing something else today, right? Clearly all this money you invested in the trainer. So now this kid is really feeling responsible for their parents' happiness. And it's very challenging for a kid to overcome that burden sometimes. This like I don't even know how some kids do it, honestly. Because winning is just still not enough.
Yeah. That's a tough one, but back to your statistic, you're probably right on. I can imagine just looking at some of the parents that I have seen in action and just imagining like what that kid is feeling like. It's very easy for kids to be embarrassed. Marley has, thank God, grown out of it, but Marley used to be embarrassed if I clapped too loud. She'd be looking at me like,
Uh-huh.
because it was attention, and it was attention that she did not want at the time. She was the new girl on the team, and it was like, Mom, why are you clapping? Like, don't yell, don't say yay. It was like, girl, and I had to tell her, look, I'm going to cheer. Okay, I'm going to cheer. Everybody else's parent is cheering. The opposing team is cheering. You need to just accept that in a game, people cheer and get over it. Keep playing. Um, Needless to say, she is no longer, in that mindset. But I can only imagine if I had been that much worse, or like some of the other parents that I have seen, what that would do to her. What kids, they talk a lot, right? Oh my God, you see Carly's mom? Like it's unfortunate, but yeah, parents, we got to do better.
Well, sometimes even with that, like sometimes those kids they wish their parent was the one that was clapping and cheering and stuff like that, or they're just happy that you cheer for them. Like
True.
that you get that team parent that encouraging everybody and it's always cheering everybody on. Like when that parent ain't around, you can see the difference in your athletes. Like,
Oh
man,
yeah,
how come blah 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 dad wasn't at the game today? Like, where your dad at? I miss your
exactly.
dad here, because they might not be getting that fulfillment from their parents. Like in my 20 years of coaching, I've never had a very high parent participation.
Wow.
Even when the team is having success, you got like a kid parent finally come to a game and they're just like, dang, about time she showed up, or about time they there. So there's some kids who wish that their parents were trying to
Yeah.
live through them through their athletic exploits. Like,
Yeah.
man, like I just recently had a player who was like, she was amazing as a flag football player, and her auntie would come, but not mom.
Wow.
Grandma would show up, but not mom, and she just wanted mom to be there. And this girl, and I say like she scored like 26 touchdowns, had like 5 or 6 picks, like she was just balling out there, and it was only her second year of playing. And like I mean, I remember recruiting her to the team, thinking like I got this great kid with this great support system and stuff like that, because she's just a great kid around the campus. But now
Right.
that I'm coaching her, I'm starting to see that like her resilience, as Terry said, her resilience to what she lacked was just amazing. Like because she didn't have that after the game, somebody giving her a hug and saying great job, except for her
Yeah.
coach and maybe the team dad or something like that. So sometimes kids just they wish they had a parent sitting in that stand. They wish they had a parent that ran down to the sideline and was fussing on their behalf. They wish they had that. But once again, it still can be a little troublesome for some athletes. Like you said, Marley was embarrassed having you clapping. My wife don't care. My son or my daughter doing something, she gonna be the loudest one in the gym. She gonna be the loudest on the field.
As she
She,
should.
she do not care, and she
Does she
gonna.
have the coach's wife T-shirt on and the name on the back and all that too? She,
My wife, as a coach's wife, oh my gosh. I mean, I'm surprised she ain't throw hands in the stands because I know people be saying some stuff, and she ain't gonna not say nothing. She is not gonna say nothing. So, but I think because they know it's her, people that do got stuff to say, they're not gonna say nothing because it's like that's his wife right there. Don't say nothing. But when it comes to our kids, though, oh my god, like sometimes I gotta like, oh my god, my wife about to scream. She's about to scream loud, and but it's good though because my kids know that they're loved and they're supported. Where I'm in the stands, like damn near biting my fingernails off because I'm just so into the game and anxious for them. So
Yeah.
it's a good mix for us.
but I think too though, like we have to be fair to the parents too, because I've never seen this much parent investment in youth sports,
Hmm.
and because now parents are traveling, they're spending time, they're spending money on trainers, they're sacrificing weekends. They are truly invested because like when I came up playing baseball, you could go play in a tournament over the weekend, right? Everybody could afford it. But now you simply can't afford to play baseball once you get to high school. It's like $300 a weekend to go play in a tournament. And these
Hmm.
kids have, ex-professional athletes and trainers. So if your kid is not in that mix, he doesn't really have a fair chance of making it,
Yeah.
because baseball players are bred, so it's repetition, right? And so now you have these parents who are like, I'm here and I done spent all this money and this time. Like, how am I not supposed to have a deep emotional attachment to this? And so, I think it's a hard balance for the parents too. And so,
Hmm.
how do you not want to be Richard Williams, and
Yeah.
believe that you can pour in your kid to make the next Tiger or Venus and Serena? Like, there's live examples of parents that really just poured into their kids. And so you want to give your kid that fair chance. And so like nobody teaches you how to be a parent of an athlete. Like
So
there's no class for that.
let me tell you this, and you touched on exactly what I was going to cover next, and it basically, it's the NIL deals and what's happening with colleges have played a big role in this parental investment,
Hmm.
because in the past it was just, again, you had people saying, oh, it's just for fun, just let them have fun. And now, as Jim said, during the last podcast, people are looking to, basically secure their future. People go to college to get a better, career or job so that they can secure their future. So if they're able to do that through sports, and these parents are seeing that sooner than they were in the past, I think that changes the game a little bit, because previously there was very little recruitment done like in middle school. But now, again, with social media and highlight reels, you see, oh, the world's greatest fifth grader, the world's
Yeah.
greatest seventh grader. And these kids are seeing this, and everybody wants to get better. Everybody wants their Nike commercial. Everybody wants their, McDonald's burger named after them. And it's just, I think the stakes have gotten a lot higher. And so the unfortunate part is, you're right, Terry. a lot of kids can't afford to get the trainer. A lot of kids can't afford to even play on these AAU teams sometimes, if they're not the best. And again, as we spoke on in a previous show where some other kid is paying for them, it's very difficult for the average mom and dad and their kid with these large dreams to really make it to that next level without some of the extra training, because everybody's getting it. And if you don't have that repetition, as you just said, how do you compete with the kids that have all those resources?
Mhm.
And
Yeah, but
so, like, you have these second grade twins, right? That are these phenoms in basketball, and their dad has curated this whole social media presence. You got the third grader, they call him Baby Gronk, right? He has this huge, massive social media following, right? And so you have that. And then I learned that, like, one of the kids locally from Northern California, he's going to Texas A&M now. He became the number one rated defensive player in the country, and his ranking went from not relatively being known to the number one player in like a year and a half. And it's like, how did that happen, right? So you have these agencies that uh, assist with NIL deals and marketing and different things like that. So they got a hold of this kid, right? And they sponsored all of his training.
mm,
And so they got him to fly back and forth from Northern California to other places, and trainers worked this kid out, and it all paid off. It all paid off because the kid is a monster now. You don't hear his name for real. Like, but he was fortunate enough to be recognized through some of the relationships through his parents, through some of the things that were passed on through social media, that said, hey, I will work with this kid because he has potential. I see that he wants it. He has the tools, and we'll invest in this kid. But it's all, when you are talking about, generational wealth through NIL deals, it's happening. Like, it's just, you just can't, it's happening now.
Oh,
So,
I already know, but I'm saying, for kids that don't have that same group of influence, how does that benefit them? Or can it? And I know, Jim, you were about to speak on it.
oh, because I was gonna say for every Serena and Venus and Richard Williams and Tiger Woods and his dad and stuff like that, we get the Marinovich. Now, did Tom Marinovich get all the way to the top of what the sport entitles him to? He got to the NFL, but then the drug abuse because of the pressure, the reckless behavior because of the pressure. Like, what are we going to sacrifice for that? And then with what Terry was saying about the social media, there was this basketball family. I know. I don't know if y'all know about them. I think they were Latino, and both of the son and the daughter was these basketball phenoms. I want to say they were in California. They're these basketball phenoms. Like, they both end up washing out. So we got to see their rise on social media. We also got to see them wash out on social media as well, because it was like they got to the pressure that. And I remember not too long ago, did you guys watch Friday Night Tykes? Did you guys see that?
Friday Night Lights.
No, no, Tykes. It was this show on Netflix where they
Oh,
were
tight.
doing this,
Yeah, I did it with the youngsters.
so you see all these kids, they were getting all this attention right away. They're on Netflix, their parents, the celebration, the coach became kind of a celebrity. Like, out of all those kids on there, and I think my wife looked it up, like two of those kids even got to college afterward. The fact, a lot of them didn't even play when they got to high school. A lot of them just because it becomes so much after a while. Like, you got to have a kid that wants that. Like, I see a Venus and Serena, they had a drive to want to do that. Tiger Woods had a drive to want to do that. Sometimes you can drive your kid to the point of to the brink of, man, I ain't doing this no more. I'm done. Like
Yeah.
with my player at Gardena, I don't want to do this no more. And I mean, like you say, the generational wealth through NIL, the just being seen sometimes, what that can lead you to. Remember the girl that pitched in the World Series, the Little League World Series. She's at All Star game. She's playing in a celebrity NBA All Star game. She was doing all of that stuff. So yeah, that can be good. So every one of her name was Monet Moore,
Yeah.
something like that. For every person that do that, we have like hundreds of failed opportunities that way where parents are doing a super investment. They're putting all this work in, they're doing all this stuff. And then the kids just like after a while, like, can I just be a kid? Can I just be a teenager? Can I just go be a regular college student? Can I just go do that? So yeah, it works out for those rare few that just got the gift and they got that drive. But for a lot of people, I remember my sister, who was a D1 pitcher at Oregon State, she told my dad one day, like, when we leave the practice field or we leave the game, I do not want to talk softball. Please do not have that conversation with me, or I'll just quit. Because it was just like, I just want to have, when I'm not on that field, I don't want to be a part of none of this. I just want to be me. And he respected it. I mean, I'm quite sure it hurt him because my dad is coach you from the practice field to the car to the house. That's how he used to do with me. So she had the ability to stand up and deal with that, where I was just like, okay, let me let him talk because maybe I'm gonna catch something here that's gonna help me improve. Where she was just like, look, car, we're done. I don't want to hear no more. So you got to have that fine line as a parent. I know that you got this investment, you put in your time, you make a lot of sacrifices, which you're supposed to do for your kid, but you have to understand who your kid is too. And are you going to drive them out of the sport or just to have animosities towards you? And that's the
Yeah.
last thing you want to have, is have these animosities. I had a teammate in college. Him and his dad just built their relationship, and we're talking about that's almost 30 years ago. They're just now getting their relationship back together because of how his dad was towards him as an athlete from high school through college.
Wow. So, you're hitting the nail on the head, and this is one of the things that I wanted to discuss, this show for. There has to be a balance. Like you said, knowing your kid and then knowing your kid. Like there's two different ways that you know them. You got to know them individually as a person, how much pressure can they take? And then knowing them as an athlete. Do they really love it? Or do they
Mhm.
love it because you love it? Do they love it because they see that you're enjoying yourself? And I could say from personal experience, I feel like I probably love sports more than my daughter, but I could be wrong. And the reason I say that is probably just the level of maturity, right? She's young. So when I'm trying to talk to her about performance or sports, there are times that she doesn't want to hear it, right? And then there's times that she does want to hear it. And there's really no defining moment other than she wants to hear it like when it's time. But when she wants to hang out with her friends, she doesn't want to hear it. And so she
Mhm.
is finally at a moment in her sports life where I think she's seeing the difference in the group of athletes that are serious and dedicated versus the ones that, this is just fun for now, but not something that I want to do. So once she decided that, she wanted to play in college, it's like, all right, hey, things are going to have to be a little bit different. And I was talking to a friend of mine who, you know, ex professional, and he said, look, you got to put her on a schedule. And I'm like, oh, she's going to hate me. But at the same time, I think that's necessary because she's still a kid, right? And if you tell me you want to be successful, there's certain things that you have to do. And, I just trying to avoid the burnout, but I don't know. I think there's really like a difficult balance that parents have to, take and make.
So I have a question for you guys though. Does the parent that's very extreme, that's let's say you have like a classic Tyler Marinovich dad who managed the kid's diet, what he ate, his workout regimen, all these different things, right? Does, even if that kid burns out, does that, has that parent or has that kid provided a greater good to the whole? So for example, that kid might raise the level of focus and dedication for the rest of the team. Like a lot of kids don't know what hard work looks like until they see that kid, right? They don't
Mhm.
know what film study looks like until they see the hours that's put in, right? And so now you also have scouts that have come to see the star, but the other kids get picked up because they're on the team and they get noticed because the scouts came to see the star. So there's a lot of players that have gotten opportunities because of that player that was pushed to that extreme. So my question is, given those factors, do you feel like is the greater good served, even though that one particular kid may suffer some level of burnout down the line?
I think so. I think we live in a society where the world isn't kind, and that discipline and good habits, I think come from sports. There's another statistic that you probably are aware of, both of you, that at least from a female perspective, 90 or so percent of women that they say are CEOs were athletes, right? They didn't really specify at what level, but I think that there is so much that is earned from playing sports, whether it's the discipline, whether it's the teamwork, whether it's the hard work, the effort. All of those things I think are what make it worth it in the long run. So she gets to play in college, great. If she doesn't, I know that she is going to be a better human being just from everything that we've done up until this point.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree with Terry. It can serve for the greater good, but I've seen things on the flip side of that. The kid that doesn't work hard at all, they just show up. They're just like, whatever. I'm gonna go out here. I'm gonna be a gamer. I'll ball. I'll do this. And next thing you know, the kid that was putting in all the work and that was working hard and was the most serious athlete, they don't make it. That
Hmm.
kid that was kind of lazy, lackadaisical, just showing up, they make it and they make it big. I remember hearing a story about Allen Iverson. Somebody told him, if you don't go drinking and partying and doing all that stuff, you'll be so much of a better player. And he did that for 2 weeks and had the worst 2 weeks of his life playing basketball in the NBA, and went right back to doing what he was doing before and was back at, because sometimes they're just people like, um, their mentality is the more wrong I do, the more right I'll do in my field. The more trouble and the more thinking. I don't know how that dynamic works because I'm not nowhere close to being that type of a person. Like I can mess up and cut a fool all throughout my life, but you get me on this field, I'm just gonna do my thing and I'm gonna be dominant. There's no pressure. I'm just gonna go out here and see it. And I mean, and I was a little jealous of this. I had a couple of teammates that were at UCLA that ended up going to having pro careers. They were not as serious of athlete as I was. They were not as good. They barely played while they were in college, but went off and had these amazing NFL careers. And so it's just like, man, when I was out there putting in the work and doing that, he got to live the dream further than I got a chance to live the dream. So it becomes kind of like, dang, should I have went that route? Should I have been like them? Just kind of like, I'm gonna show up, I'm gonna do a little workout, then I'm gonna go out here and I'm gonna do this because you see it a lot. Well, I see it a lot. Where you got this kid who just kind of like, hey, I'm out here,
Yeah.
and then game time come, these lights shine, and they're just balling out. They don't take no workout serious. They ain't got no trainer. They ain't got nothing. They just come out there with what they got, they God gift, and they know your strategy. They know what you're trying to do, and they go out there and they ball. You got this kid who got a trainer. They working out on the weekends. They do this. Their dad has got them on these supplements, and it just never works out. So I mean, I don't know. It's no exact science to this, but I
Right.
just know that when it comes to parenting, and I always say this, you're supposed to be there for your kid. You're supposed to drive your kid to their best and their greatest potential. But once again, it's also knowing your kid and knowing the type of person that they are. Because sometimes you got a kid, he walks into a facility, he's 6'7", 325. He's whether he's good or not, they're gonna keep him. he,
Right.
Yeah.
he probably can't walk and chew bubble gum at the same time, but they're gonna keep that kid where they got
Right.
a kid that's probably smaller, a better player, and they're like, man, I'm gonna develop him into becoming you. So don't worry about. I ain't worried about that. So sometimes just being in the right place at the right time of the right size for the
Yeah.
sport can get you further than all the work that you can do.
That is 1,000% true. But as we kind of close out this episode, what can parents do to actually check themselves? You know, it's going to be difficult for us to not live through our kids, but just think about the embarrassment sometimes that we can create, and think about the bigger picture, and what their kid is learning. And like Jim said, maybe it'll work out, maybe it won't, but we just have to be there and support them. And I say cheer them on, but forego the embarrassing moments.
I don't know, man. Just do something, even if it's wrong. Just do something. If you're a parent, you know, There's no guarantee your kid gonna make it. They gonna understand you. They gonna be mature. It's no guarantees. As long as you there, do something, even if it's wrong.
I mean, you gotta look. I think I would say love your kid more than you love their success in the sport. If you can keep that fundamental principle with you, love your kid more than their success in that sport, you're gonna build a healthy relationship with your kid. They're gonna enjoy the time out there and stuff like that. Like even if they feel that they're doing good, makes you happy. I mean, shoot, sometimes that's motivation. Man, my mama gonna be in this stand smiling when I blast this fool coming down the sideline or I hit this jumper. So sometimes that is because kids want their parents to be happy. You want your parents to have joy, and if I can bring my parent joy, that's a big thing. So just love your kid more than you love their success in the sport, and I think that you will handle things well, and you'll check yourself better when it comes to some of these things.
Definitely. And youth sports is not part of our investment portfolio. Okay. Key takeaway. Thank you for tuning into another episode of Huddle and Whistle. Thanks for tuning into the Huddle and Whistle Show. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this episode with your fellow sports fans. If you are a sponsor or a guest who wants to join us and bring your voice to the conversation, email us at info@marlonicoleproductions.com. Until next time, let's huddle up and blow the whistle.